What is up, guys? Hey, I think we are recording. Hey, so welcome to the very end of our No Excuse November group. I am thrilled and beyond grateful that you allowed myself and Mallory and a few other coaches to work with you and alongside of you throughout this month and the last few months. I know that a few of you will be joining us in our December group, and for those of you who joined us this month, I have more than likely talked with you already, and we'll be moving into December together. And some of you finished up programs this month. Some of you are going to be finishing up programs next month, and don't worry, you'll have an accountability space still. So, but most importantly, I wanted to just say thank you so much for the last few months and this month, and I'm so excited. And I wanted to leave with you, in case I don't see some of you in next month's group, I wanted to talk with you for just a few quick minutes on something for you to take with you for the rest of your life in regards to food and balance and how to come at and view food and this lifestyle as a positive thing. And I want to share with you what I learned from my nutritionist 8 years ago, and something that I'm studying myself, something that I love to share with people continuously, because it is something that has worked through and through, time and time again, not just through wellness groups with myself or with my coaches also using it, and my coaches also teaching the same thing, but it's something that science has proven, and something that our world needs a little bit more of, especially right now. I feel like in order for us to find a happy, healthy relationship with food. And I wanted to share a few things with you, and a few of you probably have heard this before. It can't hurt to always hear it again, right? The more I even talk about this, I always remind myself of something else that I have forgotten in the past, and it's just really good to practice. And because it's a relationship, and again, relationships are going to have seasons. Relationships are going to have ups and downs. There's going to be times in our business where we're going to feel like not going to work, and we can't do that. We have to show up and go to work. We have to suck it up. And the same thing in our relationships with humans, with our significant other or family members. We're going to have seasons in life where we're not meshing the right way. So it's an okay thing to feel that internally when we have just this meshing of just this feeling like maybe we're not doing as good as we feel like we should, or we're not living up to the standards, or who knows what's going on in our lives. But there's going to be discord in our own personal life sometimes, and just know that that's a season. And that's something that doesn't mean that we give up on our goals or walk away from them. It's just a season. So it's like you can't really walk away from your significant other. You can't just say like, I'm going to go take a back seat. I'll see you in a few months. It's just a season. I'm going to go. It's the same thing. Food, our relationship with food, our relationship with our wellness journey, our relationship with ourselves is the same thing. It takes practice. And sometimes when we're going through a little bit of a harder season in our life, that means that we just have to lean in a little bit harder and just trust the process that we're going to be okay in the end. And I think that's the best thing about these wellness groups and these challenge groups is there's going to be those key people in here that will consistently be there no matter where we are in our lives. And that's something that we can all rely on. And there's going to be times where these wellness groups, if you've been maybe with me for a while, maybe some of the wellness groups I think are fire, are ones that maybe you haven't had the best time in yourself. And, vice versa. Maybe I felt like I could have been better in the wellness group and led better, and maybe some of you thought it was fire and you got the best time and the most out of it ever. And it's just going to be seasons in life, and that just means we got to stick to it and keep showing up, because at the end of the day, being successful and being happy means doing hard things well. So that's definitely a quote that's been with me for my entire life, and I hope that you all can take that with you and really trust and believe in it. And know that you all are divine human beings meant for the best. And sometimes when we approach something in our lives, when we have a goal, things aren't going to be the easiest, especially in the beginning. And it's just a matter of hard work, especially for the first year in anything, in a wellness goal, in business, in life, in a relationship, anywhere, anytime. It's always going to be a little bit weird that first year. So for those of you who just joined us this month, welcome to month one. And I hope that what I'm about to share with you is something that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And I do hope to see you next month. And I do hope to work with you all again. And again, thank you for all of your time and energy, and way to go doing something for yourself. So I wanted to share with you, I'm going to share a screen. I wanted to share with you what my nutritionist and I have worked on since I was diagnosed with stage 1 cervical cancer. And that was 8 years ago. And advanced sharing options. Here we go. And this is something that I created a few years ago, not thinking we would even still be using this, and that I would probably make time for it later. But this guide is in the file section here. You can print this off. You can do whatever you want with it. But this is kind of just a simple guideline of what we're going to get into, because we're going to scroll down and look at these in a little bit, these cortisol levels. I think my dog's coming in. Hi, Vino. And so this is just kind of explaining why we have a rise and fall in our energy levels and how to keep them more balanced. So again, working out 20 to 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week is the best for consistency and toning or weight loss. And once we hit that 20-minute marker, we will start losing weight, because that's when we'll start burning our fat. And it'll say it on here and you guys can read through it. But most importantly, what I wanted to go over and look through with you is, if you look at this graph that's in the back of all these words where it says 24-hour eating cycle, that is our cortisol levels. That is something that every single human being on this planet has. And if we have a thyroid issue, an adrenal issue, adrenal fatigue syndrome, I had stage 1 cervical cancer, anyone who has something that we're just going through in our life, even if it's stress as well, this is the circadian rhythm is what it's called, of the cortisol levels. You can see that to the side here. And maybe if I'm going to share, Vino, what are you doing? I'm going to make this, I'm going to blow this one up so you guys can see it a little bit better. So this is what those cortisol levels look like. So we're, sleep time, 12, and then, 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. We're going to wake up, obviously, in the morning. And then around 8-ish is when our cortisol levels spike. So in the morning, we're like, whoa, we've got all this energy. And all of a sudden, it's right before lunchtime. And you're like, I am exhausted. So this is kind of a style of how to eat according to your cortisol levels in order to balance them out. And notice where these snacks are. The snacks are in between the drops of the cortisol levels, so we don't have such a significant decrease in those drops, and that our energy levels can remain the same, most likely throughout the day. Not saying that we want to go against our natural circadian rhythm. However, if we are fighting a thyroid problem or adrenal fatigue, these dips and these highs are going to be a lot more intense for some people. So learning to balance that out until we get there is the best way to do it. So this is the 24-hour eating cycle goes in accordance with this rhythm. And it's also very similar to fasting, because we're eating within a 10 to 12 hour period and 12 hours off. So going back to this 24-hour eating cycle, this main one, notice how in the very early morning, it is protein, fruits, and carbs. In the morning, we're eating our carbs and our fruits first, because that is carbs and sugars. Where are we here? Yep. So it's our carbs and sugars in the early morning, simply because our body wants to use the energy throughout the entire day. So notice how the most energy we have is in the morning. So if we feed our body that energy from the foods in the morning, we're going to be able to burn it more quickly, and then we have the entire day to burn the rest of it off. If we have carbs and sugars at nighttime, we're defeating the purpose. We're going to have a spike in our glucose, which is going to unnaturally cause an increase in our cortisol, causing an unnatural rhythm of a sleep pattern for us later on, and we're not going to have time to burn it off. So it makes sense for us to have our fruits and our carbs mostly in the morning, have a protein as much as possible. There's 12 to 15 grams of protein in our Shaco, and in our post-workout energy mix, there's 20 grams of protein. So that is something that I personally like to have as a snack, as a post-workout energy mix, or sometimes Shaco as a snack, because that is something that can fuel that cortisol, natural glucose spike. Even though a lot of people say that Shaco is a meal replacement, for me, and where I'm at in my journey, it is a snack, because my metabolism is revved up, it is moving and it's going, and I am burning because I choose to work out extremely hard in my workouts 4 out of the 6 days a week, and my metabolism is spiked. So I'm going to need to have a little bit more nutrients, because my body's going to be flowing through it. And whatever nutrients we feed our bodies that we have too much of, vitamins and minerals, we will release that in our urine. So this is just a basic overview of how to look at food, especially going into the holidays. You know, we get to a party, let's say at 7 p.m. at night. We know that we have eaten our sugar for the day and we have eaten our carbs. So there's no reason to stress about, oh, should I have this, or oh, should I have that? What portion is this? What size is this? It is very simple. Eat the greens and eat the protein. And if you want to try a bite of a brownie, have a bite of a brownie, but leave it at that and walk away. You know, think about how good you're going to feel tomorrow for sticking with your body's natural rhythm, natural circadian rhythm. So last thing, and then we're going to end this, because I don't want to keep this too long at all. But a great way to figure out what type of food to eat is using the acid alkaline scale. When no one has ever been admitted into the hospital unless it's been an injury, if they are high on the alkaline scale, those who have cancer, those who have adrenal fatigue, those who have heart attacks, those who have all of the above, have more of an acidic scale. And so if you noticed at the very bottom, the acidic pH, that's microwave foods, processed foods, sugars, sodas, white breads, non-organic sweeteners and fruit juices. And then we move up. Red wine, and having 1 glass of red wine a day, probably 5 days a week, is totally fine. You're allowed to do that. It is not saying to look at this and say stay away from the acid side. We need our protein. We need some of the nutrients that are in peaches and oranges and pineapples and strawberries, but to also make sure that we are doubling up on the other side where it's more alkaline, because if you notice here, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, 20-to-1 ratio, 20-to-1 ratio, that whenever we have something more acidic, we need something more alkaline for our bodies. And also, so when we look at this, I see wild rice, I see quinoa, I see flaxseed, I see a lot of these carbs that are on the alkaline side. So those carbs would be good to have for lunch, right? Because we want to eat carbs and sugars really prior to 3 p.m. because we're going to have a drop in our cortisol levels after that. And we want to allow our bodies to not have such an intense glucose spike where we have this exhaustive feeling, so we can go to bed on time and we can breathe and relax and know that we did something fantastic for our bodies. So the last thing, aside from the acid alkaline scale and the cortisol levels and how to eat according to that, is obviously water. Water is a fantastic thing to have. And next is going to bed the same time, around the same time, within the 30 minutes to an hour every single night. And same thing with waking up. If we can wake up within that 30 minutes every day, that even on the weekends, that will help our body stay in its natural rhythm. Absolutely. And then also diminishing the light that we look at prior to going to bed, keeping technology away from our aura at nighttime, so we're not touching it first thing in the morning, is a fantastic thing to do, so our eyes can adjust to it. Waking up around sunrise and falling asleep, obviously after dark, a few hours after dark, is fine. And know that if it's in the shorter season, because we're going into December, we're going to have the shortest day is December 22nd, I believe. So that means we're going to have more dark days, then we're going to have more dark hours than light hours. And it is okay to listen to your body if it says, I'm tired. and I need to take a nap or I need to sleep. Recognize that. Typically, a nap means that our cortisol levels are really dropping. So take notice to that. However, when it gets to be longer hours of nighttime than daytime, our bodies are probably going to want to sleep more. And it is okay to listen to that versus adhering to maybe what friends and family want you to do for a party or something like that. Listen to your body and get through the holiday season feeling freaking good about yourself and all the decisions that you're making, and knowing that it is okay to still eat your carbs and your sugars, but to have them in the morning and hold off on them at nighttime, just to give your body that ability to feed what it's supposed to be feeding itself and for it to work in the way it wants to. And last thing, when it comes to, let's say, if you were to eat something at nighttime and not that great and it's processed sugars or processed something, you don't feel that too good after and the next day and you're feeling a little guilty for it, please know that that feeling of guilt means two things. It just means that you're upset that you broke a promise to yourself. It's nothing crazy. You're not crazy. You're not going into this spiral loop. It just means that you're upset that you broke a promise to yourself. That's normal. We don't like it when people break promises to us. So when we break a promise to ourselves, it's going to feel a little crappy, right? So that's one thing. Second thing, when it comes to eating processed sugars, our gut has more microbes in it than a dog's brain does. So what we feed our gut, it feeds our brain. So that feeling of guilt is actually also a feeling of not feeling fantastic. And we as humans, especially women, tie it to guilt because we love to blame ourselves for some reason. That's just something inside of us women. It might go back, date to the Bible. You know, it's nothing like that. And Vino's like, yeah, that's right. If we have that feeling of guilt, tie it to just knowing that you don't like it when you break a promise to yourself, and that it's just your gut flora not being as healthy as it has been according to if you've been treating it right for a while. It's feeding your brain just something more negative, and now it's just time to get back to it and get back to where you were. Have your sugars and carbs in the morning, protein throughout the day, healthy fats more in the middle of the day, and then veggies and proteins at night. So water all the time, sleeping a solid amount, 7 hours, 7, 8, everyone says 8, but I understand 7.5 is technically the best way to do it. So anyways, guys, I hope that you can take this with you and make it through the holidays so happy. And thank you again for letting me work with you. If you guys have any questions at all, let me know. Happy hump day. And I will be talking with you tomorrow. Mallory will be announcing some winners on Friday. And then also on Saturday, we will be talking about, on Saturday, we're going to be testing out the new Transform 20 workout. So, okay, awesome. Happy hump day. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.